Come again.
I am soaking wet right now.
Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian Lad, and the official trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine just got released, and my goodness, what an amazing trailer that was. Now, I've watched the trailer at 0.25x speed and found a ton of hidden details and Easter eggs, so without wasting any of your time, let's begin the breakdown.
I told you, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome anywhere. Now get the fuck out of my bar.
Just give me one more drink and then I'll leave.
Hi, Peanut. I'm gonna need you to come with me right now.
Look, lady, I'm not interested.
All right, well, I'm sort of on the tick-tick, so upsy daisy. Here we go. Oh, whiskey dick of the claws. It's quite common in Wolverines over 40.
You don't want this.
Unless you want to take a deep breath through your fucking forehead, I suggest you reconsider.
The trailer opens with Logan sitting in a bar where the bartender doesn't seem too happy to serve him. Now, this back shot of Wolverine kinda reminds me of the first glimpse that we got at Wolverine video game from Insomniac. And notice this Canadian flag indicates that this bar is in some place in Canada. And of course, Wolverine aka Logan was born in northern Alberta, Canada. We can also see some Christmas decorations with a Santa hat hanging on the shelves, implying this could be the Christmas season. And just before Disney bought Fox, Deadpool 3 was actually supposed to be a full-blown Christmas movie. But of course, after Disney bought it, Ryan Reynolds was given an unlimited amount of resources. He managed to bring Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in the MCU. Now pay attention to one important line from the bartender.
You're not welcome here. You're not welcome anywhere.
He doesn't just tell him to leave the bar, but he also says Logan is not welcome anywhere. Keep this in mind, I'll explain it in a few minutes, as this line is actually one of the first hints towards a major plot of the movie. Now, Deadpool addresses Logan as Peanut in this scene, which reminds me of how Scott Lang would call his daughter Peanut.
Hi, Peanut.
Now, I know this might sound like a big stretch, but we do see a giant Ant-Man Easter egg in the trailer. So could this be intentional from Deadpool? Deadpool then tells Logan that he's kind of in a hurry, which indicates that the TVA who hired Deadpool and sent him on this mission put him on a clock. He doesn't have too much time on his hands. We then see Wolverine having some trouble popping his claws, to which Deadpool says it's a common problem for any Wolverine that's above 40. And this tells us that by the time Deadpool meets our Wolverine here, he has already met other Wolverines from other timelines, which takes me back to the teaser where we saw a variant of Wolverine in a white suit in a casino, who obviously don't match the physique of Hugh Jackman. And judging by how comic accurate this movie looks, this character is probably Patch, one of the best iterations of Wolverine from the comics. And I won't go into detail about who Patch is because that's not important at the moment. But I will say that in the comics, the alias Patch was adopted by Wolverine during his time in Madripoor, which is a criminal underworld. In this persona, Wolverine would often wear an eye patch, hence the name. And Patch is someone who would mostly use his detective skills rather than brute force. Now coming back to the trailer, this line from Deadpool pretty much confirms that Deadpool will meet multiple variants of Wolverine in the movie. And as I had pointed out, there's something written on the muzzle of Deadpool's gun which says "Smile, wait for the flash." And funnily, that's exactly what Wolverine does. And I absolutely love the dialogue here. Unless you want to take a deep breath through your effing forehead, I suggest you reconsider. I have to say, only Ryan Reynolds could find a creative way to say he's gonna make a hole in your head. On to the next clip.
I'm about to lose everything that I've ever cared about.
Not my fucking problem.
Is that what you said when your world went to shit?
Come again.
This Wolverine let down his entire world.
So we see the Marvel intro incorporating the Deadpool and Wolverine's red and yellow theme. Then we get an aerial view of the Void where Deadpool and Wolverine, who is now in his comic accurate costume, seem to have a face-off. We see this wreckage that Deadpool flew through in the teaser, and of course the half-buried, or should I say pruned 20th century logo. And then we finally see this shot where it starts off showing us a blurry Wolverine, but this time in the trailer we get to see his full face. Cut to Wade's birthday party at his apartment where he's celebrating it with his friends and family. family. But in the trailer, we now get one extended shot, and it's this one. Notice Wade's apartment door is still open, meaning this is when Wade opens the door and gets a surprise birthday party. And I like how Vanessa was recording Wade's reaction on her phone. So here we see Peter, Vanessa, Colossus, Blind L, Negasonic, Yukio, Depender, and Shatterstar all coming back. Then Wade says to Logan, "I'm about to lose everything that I've ever cared about." To which Wolverine says,
I missed the part where that's my problem.
but Deadpool says, "Is this what you said when your world went to shit?" And this triggers Wolverine, taking him down the memory lane, where we see a relatively young Wolverine who has less wrinkles on his face, sharper and darker hair, going on his knees because he's in a graveyard. And now I'm gonna tell you what that line from the bartender meant and explain who's lying down in this graveyard and how they're all connected. This movie will adapt one of the best and darkest versions of Wolverine from the comics, aka Old Man Logan. Now I'm gonna tell you briefly what happens in the comic, and I want you to pay attention, because a lot, and I mean a lot of the movie, will take inspiration from this comic. So here goes. In a dystopian future, the supervillains have taken over the United States, and Logan is now an old man who lives in a secluded area with his family and can't pay his rent to the Hulk gang. Now something happened in the past that just wouldn't let Logan pop up his claws and fight the Hulk gang. It's as if he has taken an oath that no matter what happens, he will never use his claws again. And then we learn through a flashback that Logan, when he was young, had killed all of the X-Men. Why? Because Mysterio played an illusion where Logan saw his own teammates appear in the form of villains. Kinda like how Spider-Man revealed the truth to Nick Fury, thinking it's the actual Nick Fury, but it was in fact Mysterio. Logan said Mysterio not only made their appearances different, but they even felt and smelled different. So there was no way for Logan to know that these are actually his own friends he's murdering, not the enemies. Now in the same comic, Dr. Doom appears and Red Skull is the primary villain who took over the United States. Alright, so now that you know what happens in the comics, let's get back to the trailer. The bartender saying Logan is not welcome anywhere could be implying that in this timeline, Logan has killed all of the X-Men, and therefore the graveyard. But instead of Mysterio, I think Logan will be brainwashed or hypnotized by Cassandra Nova to kill all of the X-Men. And that's probably why Paradox tells Deadpool that this particular Wolverine has let down his entire world. Now notice Paradox is injured and has a band-aid on his nose. And here's what I think happened. Paradox kidnapped Wade, told him everything he had to know. Wade went on a mission to find Logan. He came across some other Logans in the way, and then he finally met this Logan. Brings him to the TVA, who throws a punch at Paradox, and then the TVA agents neutralize Wolverine and brings him under control. And this is where Deadpool might learn that the TVA is in fact being shady by not revealing the whole truth and just using Wade for their own benefit. Man, I absolutely love Hugh Jackman's expression here. He looks defeated, he looks to be in pain, and my guy's acting through his eyes here. That's why no matter how many new Wolverines we get, Hugh Jackman will always remain our one and only Wolverine. We then see some epic hand-to-hand action between Deadpool and Wolverine, where Wolverine literally claws him in the balls. And knowing Ryan Reynolds, this must be his idea. Man, the Disney executives must be having a stroke watching this. Now pay attention to this scene, because I'm gonna reveal some incredible attention to detail here. When Deadpool shoots Wolverine literally from point-blank range, notice we can see the empty shell casings ejecting from the firearm. Keep in mind, when filming, they were actually not shooting any firearms, so the VFX team made sure to add the shell casings ejecting the gun. Adding the muzzle flash and the blood are quite visible, and it's kind of obvious that they would CGI this part. But to make sure to even have shell casings ejecting the gun, that's what I call John Wick level of attention to detail. On to the next clip.
Want to talk about what's haunting you, or should we wait for a third act flashback?
Go fuck yourself.
I don't know anything about saving worlds, but you do.
Trust me, kid, I'm no hero.
You were an X-Man. You were the X-Man.
Alright, so Wade asks Logan what is haunting him, and whether they should have a third act flashback for that. This again takes us back to Old Man Logan comics, where we learn about Logan's haunting past in a flashback. Now Logan tells Wade to go F yourself. And this could be a callback to X-Men First Class, where Logan said this to Charles Xavier and Magneto.
Go fuck yourself.
And then we get the money shot of the trailer, this amazing slow-mo walk of both Deadpool and Wolverine. Wolverine is of course sleeveless here, which I was worried about when I saw the leaked photos from the set, because I wanted to see Hugh Jackman's jacked biceps, which would be comic accurate as well. And I cannot believe I'm again about to watch Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine, showing us his shredded body. Now let me point out some hidden details which might help us understand the plot even better. Notice Logan's suit isn't perfectly torn, meaning there are bits and pieces which are uneven, and his shoulder plates are completely missing, which tells me that this slow-mo walk will happen towards the end of the movie, where Logan will either tear off his sleeves himself or lose them in a battle. I mean, it seems like their suits have been through a lot, eh? Now notice the guns on Deadpool's hands. The barrels, the frames, everything in these guns are golden, as opposed to the gun we've seen him use previously, which was black. So it's pretty safe to say this slow-mo walk is gonna take place after they both make some upgrades to their weapons and their suits. Now you must have noticed this fun little Easter egg where the store sign says Liefeld's just feet, because Rob Liefeld is the creator of Deadpool and he is widely known as the guy who cannot draw feet properly. And this is just their way of having a little fun. We also see a sign that says Copperheads in the background, which could be a nod to the Serpent Society from the comics, as we see a snake in the sign as well. Then we see Deadpool and Wolverine inside a car, and Deadpool is showing the photo from his birthday cake, probably trying to convince Wolverine to help him save his family. Now take a look at this whole scene again.
I don't know anything about saving worlds, but you do.
Deadpool saying I don't know anything about saving worlds, but you do, doesn't quite match with his facial movements here. So I think they probably used dialogues from some other scenes and put it over this one. And then we see Logan in his worn out suit saying, "Trust me kid, I'm no hero." Now Logan could be saying this just before we see his flashback, where he tells Wade about his haunting past. It's understandable that if he has really killed those X-Men, then he wouldn't really consider himself to be a hero anymore. Or he could be saying this to Daphne Keene's X-23. I understand if this is indeed old man Logan, then he could very well address Wade as a kid, but he could do the same for his own daughter as well. So let me know your thoughts about this. On to the next clip.
I am soaking wet right now.
Boys are so silly.
Ryan Reynolds says in words what we're feeling after watching the trailer. And then we see a close-up shot of Wolverine popping his claws slowly out of his comic-accurate suit. I like how his suit has several openings to allow the claws to come out of his knuckles, kinda like Spider-Man has to shoot his webs. Now don't forget, Wolverine's claws don't actually stay inside his knuckles. He summons them from his forearms. By flexing and relaxing certain muscles in his wrists, the claws punch through his knuckles. His healing factor then seals the breach in his skin around the claws. Now in this shot, we see Deadpool ramming a tree branch into this TVA agent. Notice the VFX team not only CGI'd the blood here, but also added the broken pieces of the armor as Deadpool pulls the branch out. We see some more shots of Deadpool using his katanas, which are now made of adamantium, and fighting Wolverine. Cut to more shots of this car where the windshield is now completely shattered and there's blood all over the interior. Wolverine, still in his costume, jumps towards the back seat attacking Deadpool. This shot cuts so quickly to the next one that we only see Deadpool here for one frame. But of course in the teaser we got a much clearer view of this, where we saw claw marks on Deadpool's suit and on the front seat. So now it's pretty clear that they both will end up fighting in the car as well. Then we see Cassandra Nova getting up from a chair and walking out of what looks like the skull of Giant Man. This looks like a variant of Ant-Man that we've seen in Quantumania, indicating that an Ant-Man variant who was in his giant form was pruned to the void. In fact, later we get a shot of this whole corpse from a distance. Notice this pruned Ant-Man seems to have fallen on his chest with both his arms spread forward. If you're still not clear, let me point them out for you. This is the Ant-Man's leg. This is the body, the helmet, and these are the arms. In a later shot from the trailer, we get a better view at the gloves of this corpse as well. Now this is not the first time we've seen an Ant-Man figure in the void. In Loki Season 1 Episode 5, we saw Darren Cross aka Yellow Jacket's helmet. Now if you're wondering, out of all the superheroes, why does this movie has a corpse of Ant-Man here? Well, I got the answer for you. This is again directly taken from the same old Man Logan comics, where Logan comes across a giant Ant-Man corpse. And as I told you already, in this comic, supervillains have taken control of the United States. As a result, America was split into different territories, many named after either the villains in charge or the heroes who died there. And Pym Falls is one of these territories, located in Connecticut, where Hank Pym made his final stand as Giant Man. And this corpse right here in the void is the MCU version of Pym Falls. Now whether this corpse is Scott Lang's or Hank Pym's, I guess we'll have to watch the movie to find out. But I love the fact that Cassandra Nova made her own fortress out of this giant Ant-Man corpse. Now let's go back to the scene where Cassandra gets up from this chair. My theory is because she is Professor Xavier's evil twin, she might have killed a variant of Professor Xavier and has been using his chair since. And if you notice this scene, Cassandra is drinking tea here. So while other pruned beings barely manage to survive in the void, she's quite thriving, to be honest. And that shows her incredible power. I know I didn't tell you who she is or what she does because I already explained it in my teaser breakdown, but I'll just tell you this one thing. Imagine a being with the same power set of Professor Xavier, but with a twisted sense of humor. On to the next clip.
This is what I'm talking about. Big slow motion action sequence. Who knows if you live or die? Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
In this scene, beside the giant Ant-Man corpse, we see Alliance for the first time in Deadpool. Now in this shot, we see many familiar faces. Starting from the left, we see a variant of Russian, the Punisher villain, Jason Fleming returning as Azazel, Kelly Hu as Lady Deathstrike, Todd from X-Men Days of Future Past, and lastly Daniel Ramirez returning as Callisto. Thanks to Deadpool Updates on Twitter for catching all these cameos. Give them a follow if you can. In the same shot, we see this car in the background. I was actually thinking it looks like one of Red Skull's cars we've seen in Captain America 1, but then I noticed this tiny Iron Man emblem. So this could be a variant version of the Roadstar we've seen in Iron Man 1. And if you notice, this car is part of the same convoy that we've seen in the teaser. And if you look even deeper in the background, we can see the destroyed Golden Gate Bridge from X-Men Last Stand. Then we get a quick glimpse at Dogpool, and then a proper look at the convoy. I like how they designed these vehicles like carriages, but instead of being pulled by a horse, they're being pulled by multiple motorcycles. Then we see Cassandra using her telepathic abilities to make Wolverine stab himself with his claws. And then this car is back again in the background. But notice the airbags are now deployed. So this car is completely destroyed now. But Wolverine is without his sleeves here. Whereas before, when we saw both of them fighting inside the car, he had his sleeves on, indicating that despite their ups and downs, they won't switch to a new car and will just keep driving this piece of junk throughout the movie until they crash the car and the airbags will finally be out. Now in the final shot of the trailer, we see both Wolverine and Deadpool jumping out of the eye socket of the dead Ant-Man corpse, and Cassandra is standing right by them. And when we see this shot from the other side, we see Alliance in the background, and of course the two hands of the corpse. But let's talk about this portal, eh? Is Doctor Strange gonna be in it? I don't think so, but don't forget anyone with a sling ring can easily open a portal, so it could be anyone really. And if you notice carefully, Cassandra isn't really trying to stop Wolverine and Deadpool here. She's just simply standing there. And this makes me wonder, is Cassandra the main villain of the movie as the trailer is trying to show us? Or is it the TVA all along? Let me know your theories on it. And that's it. My goodness, what an amazing trailer. Trust me, the nostalgia hits different when I think about Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine, that too teaming up with Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, and within the MCU. I cannot wait for July 26th. And after breaking down this trailer, I just know for a fact that Deadpool and Wolverine will revive the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now lads, if you enjoyed this breakdown, then please give me a thumbs up and grab the subscribe button. I'll see you lads in the next one.
And that's the gambit.